In 2001, a Nickelodeon cartoon about a green alien accidentally predicted something about all of us that wouldn't become obvious for another 20 years. It wasn't the alien invasion. Nobody actually believed aliens were coming to conquer Earth. The thing Invader Zim got right was smaller and, honestly, a lot scarier. I'll explain what I mean, but first, let's go back a bit. Invader Zim ran on Nickelodeon starting in 2001, made by an artist named Jhonen Vasquez. It only lasted 2 seasons before Nickelodeon canceled it in 2003, partly because it was darker and weirder than most kids' shows at the time. But it built a massive cult following that's only grown since. If you've never seen Invader Zim, here's the basic idea. Zim is an incompetent alien sent to Earth to secretly prepare it for invasion. The problem is, he's terrible at being secret. His disguise is basically just a bad wig. He has bright green skin, a square-shaped head, and whenever anyone asks about it, he casually says it's a skin condition. His robot assistant, Gur, is somehow even worse. He's disguised as a dog, despite looking and acting absolutely nothing like one. He screams, malfunctions, sings random songs, and regularly causes more problems than he solves. Even Zim's house is suspicious. It's covered with fake suburban decorations, but the garden gnomes randomly spin around and fire lasers at anyone who gets too close. The neighbors complain about his ugly lawn ornaments, but not the laser weapons. The only person who sees what's happening is Dib, a kid who's convinced Zim is an alien from the very first episode. The crazy part is, he's right. He spends the entire series gathering evidence and warning everyone, but nobody believes him. His classmates dismiss him, his genius scientist father barely looks up from his experiments, and even his own sister can't be bothered to care. Watch almost any episode, and you'll see a kid gets launched across the playground. A teacher looks like he's been awake for 100 years. Gur destroys half a building. Explosions happen in the background. Someone catches on fire. Half the town looks like it's one bad day away from complete collapse, and nobody treats any of it like it's unusual. And it isn't just the humans either. Even Zim's own alien leaders are so careless that they send him to Earth on a fake mission just to get rid of him, barely checking if the planet even exists. After a while, you stop asking, how can nobody notice the alien? The better question is, why has everyone stopped reacting to things that should obviously alarm them? So let's take a deeper look into that question, because it's going to connect directly with what Invader Zim predicted. So here's what's actually happening in that town. It's called desensitization. Desensitization is what happens when you're exposed to something alarming over and over, until your brain stops treating it like an emergency. It's the same reason a loud noise startles you the first time, but barely registers the 10th. Your nervous system learns that the repeated signal isn't worth spending energy on anymore. Another phenomenon happening is called habituation. Your brain is constantly deciding what deserves attention and what can be ignored. If it reacted to every strange sound, flashing light, or unexpected event forever, you'd never get anything done. So it builds shortcuts. Things that happen often become background noise, even if they're objectively important. Think about someone who lives next to train tracks. The first night, every passing train wakes them up. A year later, they sleep right through it. Their hearing didn't get worse. Their brain simply decided the trains weren't important enough to react to. That's Zim's entire town in one sentence. They've been exposed to so much weirdness for so long that an actual alien doesn't clear the bar for a reaction anymore. And this is where the future prediction comes into play. In 2023, a former government official testified in front of Congress that the government might be hiding wreckage and even bodies from non-human aircraft.
What I personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing.
And the internet made jokes, saying, "They're just undocumented, bro. How dare you?" and asking if we're going to build a wall to keep them out. The most extraordinary possible headline landed, and a large share of the reaction was basically, anyways, what's for dinner? And there's one major reason that's aided in that. We don't just hear about one disaster a week anymore. We hear about all of them all the time. A wildfire on one side of the world, a business getting canceled, then an influencer the next week. And it goes on and on. It's literally nonstop. And it's not that any of it doesn't matter, it all does. It's that there's too much information too fast for any of it to fully land before the next one. This is why Zim never needed a better disguise. Neither would a real alien. Vasquez probably wasn't trying to predict any of this. He was making jokes about a green kid in a bad wig, a robot that couldn't act like a dog. But the joke only works because it's built on something true. Past a certain point, it's worth noting that Nickelodeon pulled the show, partly because executives thought it was too grim for kids in 2003. Looking back, that reaction almost proves the point. A cartoon about a town too numb to notice an alien invasion was considered too dark for an audience that, 20 years later, would scroll past 3 actual disasters before finishing breakfast. The show wasn't ahead of its time because it was edgy. It was ahead of its time because it was accurate a little too early. Maybe Invader Zim wasn't really about aliens at all. Maybe it was about what happens when a society gets so overwhelmed that nothing feels surprising anymore. In that world, the alien isn't invisible because he's hiding. He's invisible because everyone stopped looking. So here's the real question. If a world-changing headline showed up in your feed tomorrow, would you feel anything? Or would you just keep scrolling the same way everyone in Zim's town walked right past him? Let me know in the comments if you think you'd notice. And if you like this one, subscribe for more.